Good morning. I'm Michael LaChance. I am a Nebraska author. My genres are romance, all fiction, historical romance, history, mystery. I don't do horror. I leave that to Stephen King. Uh, anyway, my website is www.skipperpete.com. All my books are there for sale. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and any other bookseller, whether it's iTunes or Smashwords on ebooks. This morning, I'm coming to you because I just read in the news that there is a continued push of legislation to criminalize librarians for carrying material that could be considered against their moral views. I find it untenable, and I also find it hard to digest people who say they look at history, who say they value history, when you look at the Nazis and book burning and what they did to professors, teachers, uh, philosophers. You get this in different parts of the world: Vietnam, Cambodia, the killing fields where teachers were taken out, shot, and thrown in the water. Um, we've seen it all over. And the idea is it's cliche, but don't let history repeat itself. It borders on stupidity to such a level. You're just like, what did you want to do? You want to criminalize librarians who post things in the on the shelves that you find offensive. The idea of reading and doing and taking in information is that we are mature enough to read and digest material or review material, whether it's the back cover or some prologue, and say, that's not for me. Stephen King, for example, Carrie, it's not for me. He's a fantastic writer. He's a talented expert on human character development, and Stephen King is the pinnacle of writing. He's Catholic, and he writes these books that some of them are horrific. People love it. If it's not for you, though, you don't go to your library and go, aha, I see you're carrying Stephen King. You and you get a pitchfork and you drag the librarian out and you beat them, and then you take all the Stephen King books off the shelf and you burn them. So I'm asking you, if this legislation comes up in your town, your county, your state, vote it down. Stand up and tell people this is wrong. Because if you criminalize that book, then that means that that book is close to it, because they used a word that was similar to dumb. They said stupid in that book, but that's close to dumb, and so that book has dumb in it. So we're gonna take that one off the shelf too. Quit policing us. We are our own good judge, other than things left to if people of faith, God in that. I'm Catholic myself, but I have to say there's times when I look at this as a writer and I go, people can decide. We need to be mature about it, and we do need to reflect on history. Catholics were put into Nazi prison camps. So please vote down any attempts at legislation that criminalizes librarians, criminalizes books on the shelves, and forgive me on some note, but I think DeSantis is a Nazi himself. He's pushing this agenda, and it's like, dude, take a break. Stop hammering these things to get votes. He thought there was a time for this ultra conservatism, and we see what happened to him. I don't want to, I shouldn't have said he was a Nazi, but if the shoe fits. So going forward, please downvote any legislation that looks to take books off the shelves. The minute you allow other people to manage your things, manage your affairs, take over your decision making, like AI, auto driving cars, there. I don't need hand soap dispensed for me. I don't need paper towels dispensed for me. I don't need a certain amount of water dispensed for me because I can do it myself. I don't need a police state. I don't want a police state. And we are headed toward a police state. Look at everything after 9/11. There's more cameras on people in the United States. There's more exploitation of our privacy than anywhere on this planet, unless you live in a third world country under, like Myanmar, where you have a dictator. Thank God for rebels, and thank God we can keep our guns, because I do support my right to have guns. Because one day I think we're going to need them. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to listen. Thank you for taking the time to consider voting for legislation or against, excuse me. Well, if you're voting for it, that it supports librarians and doesn't take away from them. So thank you for supporting any legislation that supports leaving books on the shelves and any downvoting any legislation that tries to take books off the shelf or criminalizes people for doing their job as librarians. Thank you. I'm Michael LaChance. Have a good day.